So $787 billion, just the beginning. The White House not ruling out another pricey stimulus package.
There are no particular plans at this point for a second stimulus package at the moment. I would foreclose it.
So another round of stimulus coming. Pat Toomey says that's the last thing we need. Pat is the president CEO of Club for Growth. You think this has gotten out of control?
I think it already is, Neil. This is a staggering amount of money. You know, we used to fight really hard for the odd $1 billion. You know, now we're closing in on $1 trillion.
Pennies.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're closing in on $1 trillion. And we're hearing, well, maybe this isn't enough. And by the way, of course, as you know, that doesn't include the TARP plan. That doesn't include what the Fed's been doing. This is staggering, and it's getting very worrisome to me.
All right, now that's sort of like the Club for Growth's mantra. You try to watch it. You were doing this in a Republican administration. You were very concerned about the excessive spending, the president's, at the time, Medicare prescription thing and all that, go out of control, as you said at the time. So this is out of control. Republicans, Democrats, they all spend like drunken sailors. I guess the sailors at least have the reprieve. It's their own money.
It's their own money. And you have to give some credit to the House Republicans. They were united in their opposition to this, and the Republicans in the Senate might have been but for three apostates who went over to the other side. But can I just say, I mean, I think the fundamental mistake in this is the notion that the government can conjure up growth out of the clear blue sky, that somehow by borrowing a massive amount of money and spending it, we create prosperity. This has been tried repeatedly. It has never worked. It's never going to work.
Well, they always go back to the New Deal.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the New Deal. You know, Morgenthau, who was Roosevelt's good friend and Treasury Secretary in 1939, said, "We've been spending as much as we can. We've never spent so much, and it doesn't work. Unemployment now is as high as it was when this administration was first sworn in." That was true. It didn't work then. It won't work now.
World War II made it work, right?
All right, well, World War II, what you had was conscription. So there was nobody unemployed. Everyone was fighting somewhere. You had massive production, but only for
in other words, the New Deal didn't. It was the war that did, that got us,
what really got us, I mean, I think it's hard to say that we had growth during World War II. We were building, you know, tanks and planes, not things that are useful to the standard, things we needed to do to save the world and ourselves.
But typically, isn't the argument, Pat, that either war or sustained tax cuts are what get you out of things?
I'm arguing that it's misleading to think that war really gets you out of a bad time. Building things and destroying them is really not adding to the nation's wealth. It can keep you busy, and it can drive down unemployment, but the only way to create wealth is to do it by incentives.
So this idea of a bigger, more involved government worries you greatly because you see it going where?
I see a series of things. One, a misallocation of resource away from the more productive private sector to politically dictated programs that are not going to work. I also see a creeping...
What if they do, though?
How are they going to work? This money's being taken from somewhere first.
What if we have an improvement in the economy and the Obama folks come back and say, hey, that's us?
Well, you know, and with the monetary stimulus that's already been built in by the Fed, it is possible that we'll get some recovery. And if they take credit for this and manage to convince the people that we just taxed and borrowed our way to prosperity, well, then we've got real serious problems down the road. But I think you combine this massive debt and spending with the creeping nationalization of, well, car companies, arguably, the banks, certainly, AIG and Fannie and Freddie. This is a very worrisome trend we're on, Neil.
Pat, thank you very much. Good words of warning. Pat Toomey, Club for Growth, the president.